We have a very, very exciting evening scheduled for you. Buckle your seatbelt because we've got a really awesome interview this evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Capital City REIA. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're so glad that you decided to be a part of our family. And the reason that we do Tuesdays with Tammy is because we realize in the busyness of all that you have going on, sometimes it's really difficult and challenging to get out to some of the main events that we do. And we wanted to be able to reach you and have you be able to participate and share with us and all of the different content, education, interviews that we have available for you. All of our online events, and now moving forward, most if not all of our events live on site are going to be recorded and they will be archived on the website, so you will be able to tap into that. So without any further ado, I just want to make sure that you respectfully silence your phones. And the reason that I ask that is that even though you are muted right now during this presentation, if your phones are then I know that you are going to be sidetracked. And if you are text messaging, if you are doing emails, if you are trying to make dinner, all of those kinds of things while simultaneously paying attention to the webinar, you very well may miss out on some really great information, especially when you hear who it is that. So I would like to introduce everyone to what we're going to be talking about tonight on Tuesdays with Tammy. We're going to be talking about your investing do's and don'ts as a rehabber, as an investor, information that I feel you must know and you must have. And our special guest presenter this evening is a very, very experienced and lovely lady by the name of Mrs. Nicole Allen. And I'm sure you will agree after you hear the interview this evening why we are interviewing Nicole this evening and why she is also now a part of our Alliance partnership and the Capital City REIA team. I'm going to be sharing with you and letting Nicole share a little bit about herself as well. But I wanted to just give you a little bit of her background. And Nicole has over 18 years of real estate and investing experience. She has a very diverse background in not only buying, selling, holding, rehabbing. She and her husband are very, very blessed with two amazing children. And in just a moment, I'm actually going to bring Nicole on and have her share a little bit about her background. When I first met Nicole, just to give you a little idea of how I met her, we were actually doing a live on-site rehab mastermind in DC with one of our members who was working on her very first rehab. And Nicole asked from the back of the group a very, very profound question, and then she asked another very profound question. And I knew that from these questions that she had a lot of experience in real estate, permitting, inspections. So I actually asked her to come up front and be with me to go over these questions, and it ended up being a true blessing. What she shared, what her background is, I just immediately grabbed her and I said, we have to talk, I have to interview you, I have to get your information and your knowledge out there to all of the real estate investors because it is just so powerful. So I hope you buckle your seatbelts. I hope you got a notepad ready because I'm telling you, this is going to be off the hook tonight. Right, Nicole?
Right.
All right. So, welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us. And welcome to the Tuesdays with Tammy and Capital City REIA. We also have Olga Fomenko, who is our executive director, on the phone. On the call webinar with us. So if you have questions, please type them into the chat box. And Olga will be announcing those questions. So if there is something that you would like to, if there's a question that you have, please don't feel that you have to wait till the end of the webinar. I'm going to tell you that drives me nuts too. Just type it into the chat box, raise your hand, Olga will acknowledge you, and we want to make sure that we get your questions answered. We are live. As I said, we are going to be recording this. So, Nicole, one of the words that I came up with after we first met and then spoke on the phone about tonight's event, and there's only one word that I could come up with, and that word is extraordinary. And an extraordinary person obviously is very unusual, remarkable, exceptional, amazing, unusually great, very great, tremendous, enormous, larger than life, immense. And this is really how I felt about you and about the time that we shared together on the phone. And I just wanted to know if you would agree with me that this is a definition of who you are and what you are.
Sure, I'll take that compliment any day.
Awesome. So as I am putting all of these words up on the screen, when I was putting together this presentation, it really blew me away. Now I got to bring it back up. There we go. What it is that Nicole does. And every one of these that you see up on the screen is exactly who this extraordinary woman is. Not only is she a mom and a wife, but she is a permit expediter, a lead inspector. She's an MBA student currently. She's done property management and currently still manages. She does risk reduction. She has a master's degree. She also has her doctorate. She also works in asbestos and mold. She also is a code consultant. And at one point, I'm not sure where she fit this into her life, but she was also an epidemiologist. So just to paint the picture a little bit about who this extraordinary woman is, Nicole, would you please share what it is that you do, who you are, and what really gives you the credibility to be able to share this evening about all of the things that we're going to be talking about.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that great introduction, by the way. As you mentioned, I do have a lot of experience in real estate, both as an investor and as a property manager, at one point a realtor. And during the course of my experience in real estate, I've gathered a lot of education and knowledge and training in all different aspects of real estate. Most recently, it's been in permit expediting and code consulting. And I've been able to utilize my skill set, my background, to build a business in that particular area. And Yeah, so currently that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm really focusing on helping people understand those regulatory requirements for different jurisdictions for their real estate development projects. So,
So, as a real estate investor, we
mhm.
obviously have all different levels of experience on the webinar and call with us this evening. We have investors that are just getting started, that maybe haven't even done their first deal. We have investors that maybe have one or two deals done. We have other investors that are very, very, very experienced. And when I first started thinking about all of the different agencies, right? Permitting, zoning, all of the paperwork, the forms, the documents, the compliance, you know, getting use and occupancy. I didn't even actually hear about a permit expediter for many years. And I said, what in the world is a permit expediter? And so when you and I spoke, you broke so much of this down. And when you shared all of it is that you do, as I said, I just think it is extraordinary. And so you had talked about, because of all of your credentials, one of the questions that I had asked you is, what are you going to do with all this knowledge? What is your intention with all of this education? I mean, you're working on your MBA, you've got your doctorate, you've got, you know, all of these credentials, you've got this incredible background with knowledge,
Mhm.
and the well is so deep, and you continue to get out there and grow in your field as you shared with me. So
Mhm.
what, I mean, do you own a company, or are you actively a real estate investor? You said at one point you were a realtor. You
Mhm.
obviously wear so many different hats. But what do you do right now? I mean, do you have, you know, a company that you work for? Or do you own your own company?
Mhm.
Who is it, and what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I currently do own my own company. I incorporated in 2014. My company is Allen Norris Permitting and Inspections. I run and manage the day-to-day operations of it. I do a lot of strategic development, business development, lots of stakeholder engagements, partnership opportunities. We're currently pursuing both our MBE and CBE certifications for the district in Maryland. And so I get out there, I engage with clients, I network to find new clients, I do marketing, I do finances, accounting, you name it, as well as going down to DCRA and PG County permit offices for my clients. So that's my day-to-day life.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I know we're going to be diving, you know, deep to exactly what, you know, DCRA is, if you've not heard of that acronym, and the geographic area where you focus on, because I know there also may be people that have joined us this evening that may not be geographically local. And so, two questions about this. So the first question is, what area geographically do you and your company focus on and specialize in?
Currently, we're in the DMV metro area. That's considered Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Howard County, Baltimore City, Baltimore County. We do Fairfax County, Arlington County, and then, of course, DC.
Okay. And so, if after the call and webinar this evening, someone that may be joining us that isn't from the area, if
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to find someone like you in their geographical area, you already agreed that I could give out your contact information,
Yeah.
which we will do towards the end. But where would they go, or what would they look for specifically if someone in another state, maybe someone's working on a project you know, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, or Knoxville, Tennessee, or, you know, Los Angeles, California, and they want to work with someone like you, especially after they hear how you can be a part of their power team and change their business, how would they find someone like you?
Well, I always like to say check for the main credentialing agencies for someone in my field. That would be the International Code Council. You can check on it at iccsafe.org. There is a credential that's available for permit expediters. That's called the permit technician credential. Most people will get that one if they're in smaller jurisdictions. If you're in larger metro areas like DC and Maryland, you may want to look for someone who's either carrying a residential or a commercial plan examiner's credential. Those are really, really good places to start to make sure that people have the foundational knowledge of understanding those regulatory codes. Secondly, I say always Google. Oddly enough, there are lots of permit expediting companies here in the district and surrounding areas. So you can definitely Google permit expediter, interview them, talk to them about, you know, their understanding of your particular project, be it issues with zoning or the historic review board or you know, egress issues or whatever the case may be. But don't be afraid to challenge a person's competency, especially when you're leaning on them for such a significant part of your project. So those are two good things I always tell customers. Research, ask questions. I mean, there are lots of people that you could find just visiting DCRA if you choose to. We're down here. I mean, we're usually the ones that are waiting in line very patiently and you know, dealing with the reviewers and examiners down there. So.
Yeah, it's called. That's called hurry up and wait, right?
Yes. Exactly.
All right. So I'm gonna put you on the spot for a moment because of what you just shared. And I wanted to know if after the webinar you would be willing to email Olga what questions someone would ask, you know, basically putting in a written form what it is that you just shared so that we could share that information with those tomorrow. Is that something that you'd be willing to do?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. I think we have just a little bit of a delay when I ask a question, but we are going to continue to move on here. So one of the other things that I had asked you, Nicole, or do home inspections, and your answer was no. And with all of the other things that you are doing, I was just curious why you chose not to actually do or get involved with home inspections.
Well, I think our company really wanted to focus on an area where it was not a lot of competition. Even though I said there's a lot of expediters in the district, we don't see a lot of competitors who are comparable to the skill sets that we have. So that's one of the main reasons why we didn't want to go particularly into the home inspections arena. Yeah.
Got it. Now, do you have home inspectors that work in your company and in your office, or do you specifically choose not to work in that area of construction, renovation, rehab, etc.?
Yeah, we're choosing not to work in that area at this time. I mean, I have lots of home inspectors in my network, and I'd be more than happy to use those referrals as needed, but we've chosen not to work in that particular area.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have up right now is direct information that I took right off of the DCRA website.
Mm-hmm.
And due to time, I didn't want to pull up all of Maryland's information, for example, all of, Virginia's information. So I thought we could just focus on, DCRA, for example, but I do want everyone to know that obviously in every area, every jurisdiction, every city, every county, you are going to have these types of agencies and jurisdictions that you are going to want to tap into when you are rehabbing a property. And this is not going to be necessary for someone that is maybe just doing a very, very light cosmetic rehab. We call that lipstick on a pig, or, lipstick and rouge, paint and carpet. That's not where, something like this comes in. Here we're talking about, pretty sizable rehabs, historic properties, condo conversions, anytime that you're going to get a permit, to do your rehab as an investor, this information you must know. And, this was not taught to me, Nicole, early on. And I'm proud to be self-taught, but I also know that if we here at Capital City with our Alliance team are able to, shed 5 years, 10 years, 20 years off of someone else's learning curve by doing Tuesdays with Tammy, by doing all of the networking events that we do and the educational events that we do, that it will literally put them on the fast track to success and obviously profits and wealth, which is, what we all want. So what could you tell me about DCRA other than what we have here on the screen, about who they are, what they do, why would an investor get involved with DCRA, or DCRA and a permit expediter? What does DCRA do? What do they not do? I know that's a really broad, loaded question, but I think it's really important. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of breaking that down a little bit, I would really appreciate that.
Sure. Well, DCRA is the regulatory agencies for establishing those standards necessary for construction projects. I'll stay in that area. They are the ones who develop the codes, the building codes. They are the ones who have the responsibility of reviewing, updating, making changes to, allowing waivers or allowances to that code. So basically any construction project, in most cases, will be regulated by DCRA. It consists of people who are inspectors, people who are plan reviewers, people who have subspecialties in fire suppression, the environmental regulations, transportation regulations. So they're basically the regulatory agency that is responsible for making sure all construction in the district is according to the codes.
Got it. And do you know locally, I know there's different counties and different jurisdictions in Maryland and Virginia, but for example, let's take a big area, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Montgomery County, Prince George's County. Where would someone go, or if they were to Google it, for example, what would this be called? It would be called DCRA.
No, it would probably be called permits. Just if you have questions, you just type in Baltimore County permits. The
Okay.
same for Baltimore City and Prince George's, Montgomery. All of them will have the main permits in them in some capacity. Some may have building inspections, but for the majority of them, they will have the word permits in it.
And one of the things I found is you also have other agencies like, you have planning and zoning.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I felt a little intimidated because I didn't know a whole lot when I, started this process of working with different agencies and permitting and the engineers. But the one thing I've learned is that if you go in open-minded and you go in with and from a place of abundance,
Mm-hmm.
and you are kind to them, and you just share with them, look, I've not necessarily, done this yet. This is my time. Can you help guide me? I have found that everybody in every agency and every department has been so incredibly kind and helpful. They have taught me so much about quote unquote walking, the entire process through. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they've even left their offices and walked me over to other agencies. So, as a rehabber, this is so important that you don't ever feel intimidated
Right.
just because you may be doing this for the first time. Would you agree, or is there anything else that you can
Completely.
share there?
Completely. It's really just relationships. It's relationships and communication and respect. I didn't just wake up one morning wanting to be a permit expediter. I had to muddle my way through a lot, especially with dealing with different jurisdictions that have different regulations. So, yeah, if you're open-minded, if you're coming in with respect, I mean, they're there to do a job. They're there to assist you. That is their job. Their job is to provide the clients, most everyone that comes to their office, a service. And so they're more than willing to help, to offer assistance, to offer guidance in any way possible.
I absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, has there been a challenge? Has there been something that you wish you knew then that you know now that could be really beneficial or helpful to an investor that is maybe going to DCRA for the first time? The hardest thing is not knowing how to prepare, not knowing what to expect, not
Mm-hmm.
knowing how long the process is going to take. Are there any, inside knowledge, experience? I mean, like you said, you're down there essentially every day. What
Mm-hmm.
are 3 or 4 bullets or tips that you could share with someone about how they could make the process or the experience in working with DCRA or any other type of a, permitting or zoning office more pleasurable, more enjoyable, and, more of a good experience for them?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I would definitely say do your research. As an investor, I think we get so encased in the rehab portion of a project that sometimes the regulatory aspect of that project is often overlooked. And I can tell you from experience, DCRA published pretty much any and everything that you would ever need to know about getting your permits through through their process. It's not a hidden secret. It's not something you have to purchase. It's available. It's either in their office in some form or in most cases online. So I would definitely say put some time into understanding what it is you want to do and how can you do it according to what the regulation says. And this doesn't involve going into deep depths of, subsections and subtitles of different codes. So it just involves a little bit of legwork, a little bit more legwork on your part. I always say it's important to be an informed person, no matter what you're tackling. So that would be my first advice to people. Secondly, I would say try and build relationships with people. Talk to people. Don't be afraid to have communications and conversations. When you're sitting there and they're reviewing your plan, get to know them. Get to know their criteria. Get to know their style of reviewing your plan, so that if you are continuing to provide them plans to review or plans to approve, then you can have somewhat of an expectation of what they will be looking for, particularly with mechanical, electrical, all of those different specialty plan reviewer areas. Three, I would say, it's something if you recognize that you don't have the time, you don't have the experience, you don't want to put that investment towards yourself, hire someone who has that experience to complement you. As a permit expediter, we work as part of a team. We're not one, we're not here as a standalone entity. We work best when there's feedback and communications and, a partnership between the architect, the contractor, the buyer, the seller, all of those different things. So those would be my top three things that I would definitely say.
Wow, awesome. So let me ask you this, Nicole. If I'm just getting started on a rehab, and maybe I've done a rehab or two, but I've never, had to go get inspections and permits and things like that. How long is the typical process geographically, really anywhere, that someone needs to plan for so they don't lose time? Because if you're paying on a loan, especially if it is, transactional funding or hard money, and you didn't know that, it's a 4-week process or a 6-week process, and you didn't start that process earlier, but you waited until, for example, maybe the day of settlement. What has been your experience in the typical time frame? And maybe this is not a fair question, but could you even give a timeline? I mean, is this something that is usually done in 24 hours, for example, or is this something that is going to take a couple weeks so that investors know this and they need to plan for it?
Well, I can tell you with the majority of the work that I do is with condo conversions, and the district has a time frame of 90 days. That is well below what it actually is in most cases. I could tell you condo conversions can take at a minimum 90 days and upwards of 6 months on most cases. There's a lot of intricacies with the floor area ratio. People want to either put a top on the top of the building, which exceeds 35 feet, or they want to bump out in the back, taking more than 60% of that floor area ratio. And then it translates into going to the zoning board to get approval for that. So it could be upwards of 6 months, it could be upwards of a year. It just really depends on whether or not it's in a historic neighborhood, or if there's other factors that may be considered. But generally, if you're doing an interior remodel, you could probably get a permit in under 30 days. Generally, it takes about 2 to maybe 3 weeks because of the the project docs process that's being utilized.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so great. Thank you. I know when I went down to Baltimore City last year and went through the entire permitting process on the rehab we're doing on a 5-unit building of our apartment building. I had never gone through that process before, and I said, you know what, I want to learn this. So I, after 20 years, I'm like, all right, I know this is a lot, but I want to learn this. So I actually walked everything through worked with my GC and the architect and the plans and this and that. And I'm going to tell you, I had no idea. I thought when they called me in to meet with the engineer for the in-person meeting that I was going to be meeting with one engineer. I had no idea that I was going to go back and meet with an electrical engineer, a plumbing engineer, a mechanical engineer, a structural engineer, and I was like, wow, it is a lot to take on. It is a lot to know. And if you don't know what you are doing, have no fear, because sometimes I find with students that we work with across the country, with the multi-unit properties that we are working on, usually, obviously, we're all in permit, or just a rehab in general, that we sometimes will not take on a project or a rehab because we're afraid of all of this. We're afraid of the permitting and the licensing and the inspections, and we feel like because we've never done it before, we really don't want to take it on, but it's a great project, and the ARV is really good, and you're getting it for a really good price. And I want to say, those of you that have ever felt that way, including me, if you're feeling that way now about a property, or you ever feel that way in the future, what I am so excited to share with you is that we now have, especially here locally, Nicole Allen, who can literally become a part of your power team as a third-party professional. And when you see what it is that she can accomplish for you in, oh my God, probably 75% of the time that it would take you to try to learn this and do this yourself. I wish, I really do, I wish I had actually known about someone like you, and that I could have brought someone like you or you onto my team. I'm grateful that I learned what I did, but it also, drug out the process longer because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was doing it one step at a time. And so, wherever you are, whatever properties you're working on in whatever state, city, county, jurisdiction, it doesn't matter. Being able to bring a power team member on that is someone like Nicole is going to be so extraordinary, especially when you hear what it involves to work with someone like this, because it can save your project months and months and months and months. Would you agree, Nicole?
I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
So, break down for me and for everyone else. What, obviously, permit expediter is somebody that helps get things done faster. I can tell that by the title. But if I were to hire you, A, why would I hire you? B, what would you do for me? How could you make this process easier and faster? Like, what do you do?
Well, one, I help you as a client, as an architect, as a contractor, as a real estate developer, understand what you can do with your real estate project. I help you to understand the requirements from the jurisdiction. I help the architect to put that in the plans that will be approved. I work with the architect and the GC and your other team members to help them understand what the jurisdiction wants, what they will and will not accept. And by doing that, that is what makes the process more smoothly when you're providing a product that's actually exactly what the end person wants. So that is the expediting portion of it. I work on both ends of the spectrum. I work from the jurisdictional position as well as from a client's position.
So as a rehabber, as an investor, I find a, single family home or a multi-unit. Do you work both on residential and commercial of all sizes, or
I
what?
do. I do.
You do.
I not only do I work residential and general commercial, I am branching into schools, to hospitals, churches, doing some environmental permitting with wastewater and sanitary sewer permits. So yeah, we're pretty much institutional. We'll be doing hospital permits. And then in addition to the general residential and commercial permits, building, the trades, storefront improvement, tenant build out, solars, pools, roof. Yeah, I mean, we cover pretty much the entire gamut of permits.
And so even someone that is just getting started, they're doing their first rehab,
Hmm.
would you recommend that they still work with someone like you or a permit expediter? Are they are they at that level yet? I mean, is it a waste of time and a waste of money? If they
Well,
don't have a fourth or a church, for example.
no. I definitely think it depends on the scope. If you're doing a general, interior renovation where you're updating your bath and putting in new kitchen cabinets, no, definitely. You don't need an expediter for that. Unless, of course, you just don't want to go down to DCRA to submit plans or to address reviews. Most of that is done electronically. So, if you want to manage a small project like that, then that's totally fine. If you're doing a condo conversion in a historic area, then you might want to have someone who has, some experience with dealing with the Historic Preservation Board, or you may want to have someone who has experience going before the BZA and drafting those responses for that. If you're doing a green project and you want to, get LEED certification, I definitely would say deal with a professional, deal with someone who has that type of experience. But a simple interior renovation, no, I don't think you need a permit expediter for that. But you have to just gauge your scope, and find where your strong suits are, find out where your team's strong suits are. If your general contractor can procure the permits, then definitely go with him. So it just depends on, I'm here to make sure that everything is covered completely. And if there's any lacking, either from the architect's understanding of what the codes are, from the general contractor's ability to be able to identify what the end work product is, I can help with that.
Wow. One of the things I wanted to share, we literally 1 year ago, my husband Jim and I acquired our assisted living home in Pikesville, Maryland, and it is on the National Historic Registry, and
Mm.
we are doing a total renovation on it, and here we are a year later, literally 1 year later, and we're just now getting ready to break ground.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to go through the county, we had to go through the state, we had to go through the Landmark Preservation Committee, I had to go before the board, I had to get, approval from them. And then, one was a linchpin to the other, and
Mm-hmm.
it was quite the experience. And then, of course, during all of that, um, someone in the land preservation agency shared with me, hey Tammy, did you know there's a $50,000 small commercial tax credit that you could apply for? Well, I had no idea how it's an application, how the deal can be. Well, let me tell you, little did I know, it was a 3 month process. It was the most daunting, intimidating 3 part application, only part two. which you turned part 1 and part 2 in May 1st. And it ended up being like 6 inches thick. I had no idea what a statement of significance was, for example. And, you know, I just said, wow, I got it done. I was very proud of myself. I can say that I've done it. But I will tell you this for a fact, Nicole. I will never again waste. Let me rephrase it. I don't want to say I wasted my time because I learned a lot. But I can say this. I will not do that again because it clearly was not the highest and best use of my time. And I learned from my PC, for example, because he does a lot of chat properties and is a historic specialist when it comes to being a general contractor. And he said, Tammy, I hire a consultant to do my entire, you know, historic application process. And I said, there's people like that exist. I didn't know there were, you know, people out there that would literally write an application for you for a tax credit. And, you know, I don't know if what you do falls in line with that. I mean,
it does.
Put together.
It does. Yes, especially in Baltimore City where they're still providing those incentives for home buyers. We definitely do that.
Wow. Okay. Now I know who to call. Now I definitely know who to call. Hopefully I won't be going through that again. And I also didn't know that from the time that I submitted my application until the time that it is approved, which is 30 to 45 days, I can't work on that property.
Yeah.
So I'm actually backed up another 30 to 45 days just waiting on the approval for that tax credit. So a lot has been learned. But, you know, as we continue to move forward, are there any other questions that anybody has so far that they would like to ask Nicole?
Well, Tammy, Nicole, we had a few questions coming through. One of them was earlier on, and it was from John. What is the best way to estimate permit cost as a part of our rehab calculations?
Oh, great question, John.
Yeah, very great question. I can tell you from experience dealing with my clients, it's been very difficult for them to do that because the costs are so wide. Generally, for building permits, for standard building permits, that falls under alterations and repairs, interior renovations, just something very basic. Generally, those costs range anywhere under $1,000, I would think. But it just depends on the expediter, of course. When you get people who do mostly residential, you'll be looking on the lower end of that. If you have people who are a little bit more diverse in doing both residential and commercial permits, you'll probably be looking closer to $1,000 or so. The cost in terms of doing multi-family units, 14-story buildings, like large-scale commercial projects, or even with condo conversions, could be upwards of, I don't know, maybe 1% or 1%, maybe 2% of your total scope of the cost of the work that you're doing. It just really depends. My best advice is say talk to a lot of different permit expediters, get what their costs are, and then you'll be able to see whether or not you can kind of establish a range in there. But simpler projects shouldn't be more than $1,000.
You know, the hardest part, Nicole, is, you know, that we share with everyone the importance of knowing your numbers and,
right.
and estimating, and and analyzing. And I wish sometimes in real estate, in construction, and rehabbing, there was like this one size T-shirt that, fit everybody. And, because you've got different geographical jurisdictions, because it's different levels of permitting, I mean, I can share this number with you, and that was when we picked up just our permit for electrical, plumbing, demo, and the build out of our 5-unit renovation in Baltimore City. Just that permit alone was $1,700. And so, I agree with you. I've seen it, sometimes in the 700 range up to 1,500. If you're doing all your mechanical, structural, all of that. But really, the best person to consult with, I have found, I don't know if you found this too, Nicole, the best person I have found to get these types of costs, only because I deal with it on a daily basis, is your general contractor.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, in most cases, the actual cost of the permit is published in the jurisdiction. I know Baltimore City readily tells you if your scope of work is over 5,000, you're going to be looking at this particular cost range. And so does Arlington County. They generally give you the price of a demo permit. As well, I think DC does that on most of their permits as well. But the actual expediter portion of that, then you would have to, ask around and stuff for that.
Right. Now, one of the other questions that I see here from Carlos, thank you, Carlos, so much, is does your company, Nicole, offer third-party inspections after the renovation work has been completed on a rehab or renovation project?
Yes, that's the last part of our name, permitting and inspections. Yes, we do currently provide third-party inspection services.
So
we're residential, so we do the building, the mechanical, the electrical, and the plumbing.
Awesome. So I just want to be clear on this. If you do third-party inspections, does that mean that someone working on a project would not have to call the city or the county for an inspection, or would they still have to bring that inspector in as well?
No. If you're going to do third-party inspections, when you initially apply for the permit, you have to notify that you're going to go with the third-party inspection service. There's no mix and match. You can't start with the district, the jurisdiction, and then opt out and decide to do a third-party inspector. At the beginning of the permit application, you have to proclaim which inspection services you'd like to go for. With the exception of stop work.
All right. Nicole, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Did I lose you?
Okay, we lost you there for a moment. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was saying that you can identify whether or not you'd like to do third-party inspection services once you submit your permit application, but you will not be able to change it if you choose to go with the jurisdiction.
So if you want to change your inspection or change what it is that you've put on there, are you saying that it cannot be amended?
No, if you started with the jurisdiction inspecting your project, no third party can come in after you've had an inspection done by the district.
Okay, but if we put on the application that we're working with a third-party inspection company like yourself, we can do that?
Yes, correct. Correct. Mhm. Can you hear me?
If she could put together a mind map or a type of a visual, if you would, of one of the processes, for example, of going through permitting and what that would look like. And Nicole has graciously um, given us this mind map that we are going to be giving away to everybody that has joined us on the call this evening, for sticking around with us, and we hope that you'll appreciate having this application process mind map, and our team will make sure that we get this emailed out to you tomorrow as a thank you for something for you to add into your archive of information. And Nicole will also be sending over that information about, great interview questions and great things to look for when you're looking for an expediter. Is there anything specific, Nicole, you'd like to talk about quickly regarding this permit application process?
Well, I can tell you most of this is done electronically now, so some of it may change slightly or has changed slightly. One of the important things to remember, particularly with project docs, is that all reviewers have to comment on your project before you're allowed to make changes, add additional information, or before the process is released so that you can make updated changes. And that's generally something that people don't take into account. They think that, oh, I can change and address my comments as I get them in. But yeah, it's a very time-consuming process when you have to wait on 6 to 7 inspectors, reviewers to look over your plans and stuff before you're able to move forward. But other than that, some of the agencies, DDOE, DC Water, DDOT, you may not have to deal with. And then there may be additional ones that you have to. I don't think I put the Historic Review Board on there, or going before, yeah, BZA is on here. But yeah, so just be very loose in your thinking about which process you're able to take, and understanding that it's flexible.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for putting this together. I think it not only is it going to help me, I look forward to putting it into my archive, but I really look forward to being able to get it out to everyone that joined us on the call. So we hope you guys will enjoy this along with all the other information that we are start to wind down on this evening's webinar. If you have any questions, please make sure you take a moment and go ahead and get them typed in now. We got a lot of people that have joined us on this webinar, which we're really excited for. So glad to see all of you guys out there. And if you have any additional questions, now would be the best time to raise your hand or simply type them into the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and actually put up Nicole's contact information, which is on the screen now, so that you can write that down and contact her directly if you would like to work with her as a permit expediter on one of your projects. And all I ask, as everyone already knows, being a part of the Capital City REIA community, is that you honor and respect Nicole and her contact information, and that you don't overwhelm her, you don't, call her. you know, because she is running a business, she is a principal in that business, and she wants to be there as part of our strategic alliance team to be able to support and help you. And I know you guys all will be respectful of her time. So I will leave this slide up for just a few more seconds so that you all can make sure that you get her information down. Olga, do we have any other questions that anybody has asked?
One other question was if your company, Nicole, offers architectural floor plans.
Yes, we do. We have 3 architects that we normally work with who are part of our team. We also have 2 engineers, one structural, one civil, that we also work with that are a part of our team. So we offer architecturals, engineering plan review, and then code consulting as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another question that came through. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. No. Go ahead. I was just clearing my throat. I'm sorry.
All right. Do any other jurisdictions outside of DC have a specific regulatory agency like DCRA, or are they simply the permitting department?
No, all jurisdictions have a regulatory agency. Baltimore City has, I mean, every jurisdiction that I've worked in has a regulatory agency that's responsible for providing permitting, plans, zoning, related advice and support for your construction project. And most of
Great
the
questions, guys. Keep them
yeah,
coming.
most of the cities, also the city of Rockville has its own regulatory agency for doing development projects in that area, as does the city of Hyattsville. I think the city of Gaithersburg. So there's some smaller city jurisdictions, as well as counties that you might be engaging in depending on where your project is. Because we've had a project in College Park that had to go through not only Prince George's County, but also the city of College Park.
Right. Yeah, just
Have you lost me?
like you've got Baltimore City and Baltimore. Guys, I just want to thank you all for being on this meeting on Tuesdays. Tammy, we are winding down. Your question, just wanted to remember is our highly attended meetup, Rehab Mastermind meetup. Mm-hmm. This particular Rehab Mastermind meetup, for those of you that attended, you know we pick different parts, do a Rehab Mastermind, these are properties, stage of acquisition, stabilization, renovation, by a capital city member or strategic partner. And our geographic, so, you know, inside the beltways, outside the beltway, Maryland, DC, Baltimore area. And this is really a super exciting Rehab Mastermind meetup that we know will be heavily attended. So you want to make sure you get registered because we are going to limit the attendance. This is by one of our Inner Circle members, and Barbara. who have just completed a $1 million plus DC condo conversion, and it is just going to be a super, super extraordinary rehab mastermind event. And you can go to meetup.com/capital city REIA and get registered. We haven't officially announced the event yet. It is up on Meetup, but you can certainly go ahead and get registered for that event now. And as I said, seating will be limited. And it is live, it is on site, it is an opportunity to touch, see, and feel, walk, talk, and learn. And we will be interviewing the Inner Circle members, the actual investors about, you know, every detail. How did they find the property? How are they funding this project? What challenges have they dealt with that they've had to overcome? You know, what would they do differently if they could do it all over again? What their profits are looking like, and of course, you know, all of the details in between. You know, how do you even do a condo conversion? Because obviously you've got bylaws and all of those things, and you know, condo docs and all that has to be done. We're going to be talking about all of that. So look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday, April 15th. And as you all know, there is no charge to come to these events. We believe in real world, real life, real estate. We want you to be able to learn what it is, you know, creatively, how to be able to do real estate, how to be a successful investor, how to create the wealth in your life and the cash flow in your life and do your rehab successfully. And that is why we continue to grow all of the different types of educational platforms like the Tammy webinar, where you literally can check in and be with us online right from the comfort of your home. I am here in my hotel room on site just outside of High Point, North Carolina, at one of our big multi-unit properties, doing a big site visit with my manager, and you know, doing that thing that I do. So love that we can connect even when I'm out of town. And I thank you so much for being here with us this evening. As I said, this is going to be recorded, and the special bonuses that we are going to be sharing with you guys, I would actually like to ask for maybe 48 hours to 72 hours, so 2 to 3 days to get all of that information out to you, because we have so many people on the call tonight, and I want to be respectful of our team being able to get that out. So within the next 2 to 3 days, you can expect to see that information in your inbox. And this next photo is actually a photo of our last Rehab Mastermind meetup. It was absolutely, it was 28 degrees outside, and we had such an amazing, dedicated, loyal group out there with us. Absolute gold. It was a burned out property. It is now finished. We're actually going to be doing another site visit there, maybe a wine and cheese celebration, so everybody can actually see what this property looked like when we're done. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a really great way to learn real estate investing. And you have been so gracious with your time. Thank you so much for being who you are and what you do, making a difference in a lot of all real estate investors, and for being so willing to share Tuesdays with Tammy with me. I look forward to a very long and prosperous journey and relationship with you at Capital City REIA. Can't wait to do more with you live on site. Hope to see you also on April 15th. And as always, thank you for making sure that everything ran smoothly on this evening's webinar. Couldn't do it without you guys. That's part of having a power team. So we're going to be signing off here, and you'll be able to see the recording soon. Within the next couple days, you'll have everything in your inbox, and here is to your extraordinary success. Thank you for joining us on Tuesdays with Tammy, and here is until the next time, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Thank you.